seeing all the people that came out, seeing all the prize support, seeing all the people, the player support. So looking forward to keeping it going.
Oh, for sure. In November? Yeah, I'll definitely be back at the one in November. My friend Chet won the raffle, so that was cool.
I just won that raffle for $1,000, and this is going to help out a lot.
Welcome to the Pro Support TCG Event Weekend Pokemon Tournament. Now, we are a few rounds in at this point. We're having some technical difficulties earlier. So, in fact, this tournament is being pre-recorded rather than brought to you live. But rest assured, we will be providing coverage for the various rounds. We have Rapidstrike versus Shadow Rider. This is going to be an interesting matchup. Shadow Rider should be favored here, but we'll see what kind of techs Ken's has in his Rapidstrike deck. So we have Jose on the left, Ken's on the right, and looks like they're just getting ready to get started. Well, actually, no, it's the first turn. You got a Fog Crystal coming out for a second. Shadow Rider Calyrex going down onto the bench. This is still early on, so you're probably going to see people going through their lists, or going through their decks, rather, and, taking some time to do that. This isn't TCG Online or TCG Live, where it just shows you everything nice and neat. You have to learn what's in your deck, and that's a skill that I think a lot of people have forgotten during the, I guess we can call it the quarantine era of TCG. But now we're going to have to see what Ken's is going to be able to do against a Shadow Rider list. It's primarily Rapidstrike Gershifu's in there, and, he's got the weakness to that Pokemon, and it could set up very quickly. So he's already in kind of a precarious situation just by virtue of having to play against this deck and going second. So we just see him right now trying to figure out what's in his deck, what he has prized. Going to go ahead and grab that Sobble off the Quick Ball, discarding another Rapidstrike Gershifu. Taking a look in there, it seemed like his attackers were somewhat limited. He's gone all in on the Rapidstrike Gershifu, which we were expecting to be a powerhouse of the format. And as it turned out, most decks just kind of built around it because it was expected to be so good in this post-rotation world. So now you have this, I guess, this world where Rapidstrike Gershifu, which was, again, supposed to be the best deck in format, is now in kind of an awkward position where so many decks counter it. And we saw the same thing happen with Single Strike Gershifu, which emerged early on as a dominant player in the format, but things were created to combat it. You had your Suicunes, the Leafeon decks, and even Dragapult to some extent, if they can stop the Umbreon VMAX from getting set up. But that's not the deck we are here for. We saw the Keep Calling come out from the Sobble, which is going to be used to put down 2 more Sobbles, the Pissimian, which increases the damage done to bench Pokemon. And, well, really, it's a rough spot to be in. He has to take some big knockouts fairly quickly. And taking a look at the hand, you got the Alcremie VMAX off that Professor's Research. It was pretty big. Especially getting the Alcremie VMAX along with the Evolution Incense, going to be able to grab him a Shadow Rider VMAX, which you can use to just start accelerating energy immediately. Could be big, but okay. It took him a little while there to find one. I thought maybe he had it prized or something. That would have been actually tragic. For Supporter, though, we did see that beautiful new artwork on the Professor's Research coming out of the Celebration set. All right, ditching the Alcremie VMAX with the Quick Ball. Interesting choice. What is he going to be grabbing here? Galarian Articuno looks to be the play. Looks like he might only have one more Shadow Rider VMAX in his deck. Luckily for him, this is such, not necessarily a free matchup, but it's very, very heavily favored for the Shadow Rider here. Though maybe not so much if he has a lot of his resources prized. That being said, between the Evo Incense and this Galarian Articuno being able to slap down 2 more Psychic Energies, he's in a pretty good spot. Got a Crobat for 5. That's actually massive. Fitting his hand like that. Kind of crazy. I was expecting him to maybe have played the Alcremie VMAX, discard the Marnie there, but elected to hang on to that instead for next turn. Okay, got the Training Court in play, grabbing another Evolution Incense off of the Crobat. He's going to go for it here. Looks like, okay, I was going to say, he had his finger on that Alcremie VMAX, but he went in, grabbed the second Shadow Rider, and now, I mean, not to say the match is over, but kind of feels like it. It's only the second turn here for Jose, but it's just such a strong deck going up against here. The biggest thing in this format is hitting for weakness. And we've seen it with decks just being created to counter other decks. Jolteon exists because of Suicune decks, and Ice Rider too. Actually, no, it doesn't exist for Ice Rider because Ice Rider's weak to Steel. But we have seen Zacian and Zamazenta come back as a package with Oranguru, and that's more for those decks that it can hit weakness on, like the Alcremies and the Ice Riders. Single Strike has become a dominant force because it has access now to two very powerful Pokemon that can hit for weakness. You're hitting Dragapults for weakness with your Umbreon, and you're hitting really Eternatus, which is kind of out of the format with Single Strike, but Single Strike can just KO anything, so that's not as much of an issue. And your Shadow Rider just does a great job of countering both of the Battle Styles decks, both Single Strike and Rapid Strike. Although Single Strike now has access to that Umbreon again, as we said, which can deal some major damage here. Unless you're going up against the, they are very aggressive with that Alcremie and trying to get that in play, and you aren't able to get any Umbreons up. It's a pretty favorable matchup, but still. There's a reason why this is such a healthy format. There's even decks we've seen performing well, some road decks, Togekiss, Galarian Weezing with Sableye has been doing good, which is still kind of crazy to me. We're seeing kind of everything burned. Just going ahead, electing to end the turn, leave that Sobble alive. I guess it doesn't really matter if your opponent has to, start taking knockouts quickly, then... Well, actually, that telescopic sight could become a problem if he's not able to gust up the Umbreon V, because that's going to be able to take out both a Crobat and an Alcremie V. It can hit, I want to say it's 180 with the boost from telescopic sight and the Passimian. I believe it's plus 30 for each of those.
So do you think passing that turn, not taking out the Sobble, could hurt Jose at the end?
I don't think so. I think his win condition is the same either way. I think it's always safe just to, try and set things up on your bench. Like you said, he has one Shadow Rider VMAX set up. He has another one on the bench that has one energy on it, and he can put a few more in play. Honestly, if I were him, I would have promoted that one and attacked with just the Shadow Mist to prevent the attachment of any special energies this turn, because that would really hurt Ken's in this matchup, having to play a Rapid Strike deck without access to your Rapid Strike energies.
It would be instrumental that turn.
But again, we are just waiting to see what Ken's elects to do. He has some options here available to him. Okay, going to go ahead and evolve this turn, rather than, wait for a different situation. Maybe, if it gets gusted up, there's a chance that it can survive if it's the VMAX. Not so much if it's just the V, purely based on, the amount of HP and being hit by weakness by everything in Jose's deck. Unfortunately, Weakness Guard energy did rotate, so no access to that. I'm sure a lot of decks would love to be playing that right now, actually. Realistically, I think just about every deck would probably play 2 of them if it were still
side, right?
if it were still in format. Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, and there's so many decks now that, and pretty much every deck in format doesn't attack for just their type of energy. They use some colorless in there, so we're seeing a lot of capture energy being played. So to that end, yeah, we could certainly see Weakness Guard energy if it was still in format in just about all of these decks. I think Jolteon might not be able to play it, but that just attacks for 1 energy anyway, and you're trying to heal every turn, so as long as it's not getting one-shot, it doesn't care.
Like, Kent's going to be able to swing in at least for some damage on this VMAX here.
It's going to be going for a Gale Thrust. And granted, I believe there is a resistance there, so yeah, it's going to hit for 120 instead of 150. Now, Ken's is kind of in a position where he's saying, I dare you to knock me out this turn. And it's awkward simply because, it's not that hard to do for this deck. All it needs is an out to a retreat. It can do that. It could also, theoretically, if they have the outs to power it up, could just be done on its own by using the Underworld Door ability. But we'll have to see. And yeah, there's the Shadow Rider in hand, or the VMAX in hand, I should say. He pulled another basic V from the deck. I think we're gonna see some Underworld Dooring, I guess, if you want to call it that. Creamy Gums down. Okay, there's the Marnie. Both players shuffle their hands, place it on the bottom of their deck. Very important that you don't shuffle it into the deck. It is an automatic loss, as is considered an irreversible game state. But,
there's that switch right there, I believe.
Yep, grab the switch. Got that Full Art Professor's Research from Celebrations. Just a beautiful, beautiful artwork from the Celebration set. Some of those alt arts are really good. And even I think we could see that Mew getting some play in the future. It's like a slightly worse version of the Jirachi that we had in format for so long. So now we're going to go ahead and see the Shadow Rider getting all buffed up with nowhere to go. And as Oingo Boingo once said, that Gershifu walking with a dead man, or Ken's at the very least, is walking with a dead man over his shoulder, or a dead Kung Fu Panda in this case. And yeah, we see the scoop right there. He's going on to the next game.
Yeah, it's
Just
definitely
the
a hard
options.
matchup on there, huh?
Yeah. Well, and the fact that Ken's went second, and Jose just hit everything that he needed. Definitely hurt Ken's. He had some rough draws going up against just a great setup. But that's the thing. A lot of the decks in format now, as long as they can set up on their first turn, they're usually just good to keep rolling. And we saw that happening here. Ken's had a slightly rougher first turn, having to use that keep calling, putting a lot of effort into just retreating the Gershifu. But again, this was never going to be an easy matchup for him. Classic pile shuffling. I think that's the one thing I'm going to miss when we go back to playing in person, is the fact that the game can shuffle for you in about a half second. I believe both these players are currently undefeated, correct?
Yes.
All right. What's the record sitting at? Do you know off the top of your head?
I believe they're 2-2.
All right. 2-0 each. Chilling here in round 3. Again, the reason we didn't start up with round 1, we were just having some technical difficulties. I mean, we still are. Again, this is being brought to you pre-recorded, so won't be any chat interaction right now, unfortunately, but I do hope you can enjoy the games that we show. Hopefully, be a little bit more competitive in the coming rounds. It's just an unfortunate pairing, and pretty much every deck has one of those where it's, you know, not quite an auto loss, but like, you know, 80-20 in your opponent's favor. Ooh, if he doesn't draw anything else, that is going to be a rough opening. Having to start Pumpkaboo? Alright, Ken's looking like he might actually have a chance based off that opening and coming out from Jose there.
Yeah,
That's
not a good opening hand there.
No, that is not a good opening hand at all.
So we're going to have to see Ken's really take advantage of this first turn for him.
Ken's electing to go second. Okay, trying to play into that keep calling attack from the Sobble. Interesting choice. A lot of people were sleeping on Sobble when it first came out, and then I think they realized just the value that Keep Calling can get you, whether it's filling up your benches with more Sobbles, or in the case of Rapidstrike, you know, exclusive deck, you can get your Persimmon out that you're probably only playing one of to begin with. You can get out another attacker. It gives you some options. That being said, all hope is not lost here for Jose. He did have that quick ball in hand, able to ditch an energy. He also has a Shadow Rider VMAX in his hand, along with an Evolution Incense, which a little irrelevant right now, but it's really going to come down to what he's able to hit off the Underworld door. Meanwhile, we're seeing Ken's board state, discarding that Escape Rope. Not really something that you're going to probably need too much of in this matchup. You're going to be looking at a lot of revenge kills. Cheryl in there, that is a spicy tech. I do like seeing the Cheryl in here, but it always feels very awkward in that you kind of need to hit it at the exact right time, because ideally you want to do the G-Max Rapid Flow and then play that. But I think what we're seeing here with Ken's list is, and especially in this matchup, is the reason why we've seen Rapidstrike Gershifu moving towards playing a engine revolving around both the Sobble and Inteleon line and the Galarian Moltres V, which can obviously attach the Dark Energies from the discard, so it gives you that coverage against Psychic decks. It also then you also have it hidden for weakness, but then you can play Energy Switch, so you could just chain G-Max Rapid Flows as well if the mood suits you. And again, as we had talked about, the Gershifu, or the Rapidstrike Gershifu VMAX can attack with G-Max Rapid Flow at least for, I believe it's 1 fighting, 2 colorless. So you can use those Dark Energies no problem. Now we're just going to see Ken's use the Keep Calling, gets down 2 of his Vs, and another Sobble. Got that board filled up already in 1 turn. Like we said, this is going to kind of, we're in top deck mode here. That is not really what you wanted to see if you are Jose. By nothing but luck, we might actually see Ken's take this to a game 3. If he can, you know, get something going in this next turn, he'll be in a good spot. Because that is a very, very dead hand right now. Ordinary Rod this early in the game is absolutely brutal. I mean, yeah, you can use it to grab, what, 1 Psychic Energy? That's really it.
We got a boss's order, looks like, on Ken's side in the top deck.
Yeah, both players sitting on a boss's orders right now. Alright, and then we're seeing the Telescopic Sight come down, bonus 30 damage to benched Vs. So that'll be helpful. You'd like to see the Persimmon as well, but the way things currently are, you have no bench space for it with that Crobat. Now comes the Shady Dealing Search. Drizzile coming down, proving to be really one of the best uncommon cards, or one of the best stage 1s in a stage 2 line that I think has probably ever been printed. You know, minus maybe like Dynamotor. Actually, no, it's probably better than Dynamotor because, we got Dynamotor back in Evolving Skies, and that's not seeing any successful playing competitive scenes. For those of you who don't know or don't remember, Shady Dealings has the wonderful ability to pull any trainer card from your deck, put it straight into your hand. So we're going to see him grab a Evolution Incense, which he is then going to use to grab the Rapidstrike Gershifu VMAX. Now, a lot of players are really, I shouldn't say a lot of players, there are essentially two schools of thought with how to use this deck. You have the people like me who say deck thinning is deck winning, who are then going to go and try to bring up, or I should say they're going to try and bring out as many Drizziles as they can in one turn. So you're going to do, Drizzile for level ball, for Drizzile for level ball, for Drizzile for level ball, for whatever card you actually need. And then there's all, so that way, you thin your deck, essentially acting as a you kind of make your own luck in that way. But then you run into the risk, if you're not playing scoop up nets at the very least, of suddenly my search engine, or my main draw engine, whatever you want to call it, for the deck is just gone. Speaking of things being gone, Jose's sanity might be slipping a little bit, having to attach a psychic energy to the Pumpkaboo on the bench. That is a sad state of affairs to find yourself in. And his hand is not looking much better either. So the question is, does he grab... Okay, so he is going to grab another Shadow Rider. I was going to say the other play he can potentially do is just grab a Psychic Energy and hope to rip something off the Underworld door. Unless that's what he did with the Pumpkaboo, I might have missed that. But yeah, no, these draws have not been kind to Jose. But again, we talk about, the matchups not being 100% free for Shadow Rider here. They used to talk about the 80-20. The 20 is when you brick, which is right now. And in fact, I think you could probably build a house, or build an extension onto a house with the bricks that is being made out of Jose's deck at the moment. Though, the ship appears to be correcting itself a little bit. He's got some energies down now onto his first Shadow Rider. He has the cards in hand to bring out a second one next turn. So, his hand isn't bad for kind of a later game. And as we start to see, the board states fill up, and as he is finally able to draw into what he needs, he's playing a little bit of catch-up, but the thing with this deck is that it can catch up pretty quick. And really, anybody can catch up pretty quick when they're hitting for weakness. Right, but we see an attack come out. Look at those wonderful Team Earthring branded dice. Which I only point out because the illustrious Omar, along with myself, are members of said team. But yeah, so you see, if he had gotten another Shadow Rider down early, that would have easily been knockout, because the energy acceleration with that deck just lets it ramp so quickly. But in this case, only able to hit for 260, or rather 130 with weakness. I mean, 260 is nothing to sneeze at, but you then, if you aren't one-shotting these Rapidstrike decks, you leave yourself open to a lot of very painful and very quick retaliation. I would not be shocked to see that happen here. Ken's searching his deck now. We'll see what he elects to pull out of it.
So are we going to see a knockout here on that Rider?
There's no way that he can knock out that Rider this turn. Because it is resistant, even if he pushed it to the bench and were able to somehow get down a Pissimian, the 180 would still only put it at 300, which would be 20 shy. Now, if he's does all that and gets out an Inteleon, beautiful. But I don't think I've seen Scoop Up Nets in his deck as he's been flipping through it. So I don't think he has any way of clearing off that one board space for the Passimian. So as of now, no.
So I guess the other option would be some snipe damage, take out the Pumpkin Bill and put some damage on the bench rider already.
I think the best play here for him is, if you can, use the G-Max Rapid Flow into the active Shadow Rider and the bench Shadow Rider. Because then your opponent has to make the decision, okay, do I risk it, risk putting myself into a position where I can get knocked out, where this Pokemon can get knocked out, and then I just lose the game? Or do I try and find another Shadow Rider in my deck? So it forces your opponent to make some difficult choices. That being said, Ken's also has to think of his upcoming turns, because more likely than not, that Shadow Rider's dead. Or sorry, that Gershifu of his is going to the discard pile in this next turn. It is done ski. We are going to see the G-Max Rapid Flow. It's just going to be a matter of what does he elect to target. Ooh, pulling up Shadow Rider V with that. So the reasoning for that is kind of twofold. It forces your opponent to have to retreat to be able to attack, but also with the telescopic sight, it does an extra 30 damage, making up for the... Actually, no, there's no resistance on the bench either, so that's going to be able to hit for 150 damage, putting it at 270. However, it will only hit for, I believe it'll be 90 onto the active.
I believe that was a good play, forcing him to manually retreat on the next turn or either switch option.
Yes. Alright, just go ahead and grab the dice there. So the thing is, with the energy acceleration, with the ability to accelerate energy... Oh no, he already grabbed the one with the training court, and he didn't draw into an energy. He's stuck. He's stuck there. That's big. You cannot let that survive. However, he did draw into another Shadow Rider V, being kind of obstructed by the light there. Its brilliance is so blinding. But this is what I was talking about with, do you set yourself up in a position where, your opponent has an easy path to knocking out your second VMAX? So I'm assuming we're going to see the VMAX come down onto this newly positioned Shadow Rider on this next turn, because there's no way for Ken's to be able to get off another G-Max Rapid Flow. The way that his deck is set up here is unable to chain it. I think he's going to want to see a Tower of Water so he can retreat into his benched one. Go for a swing with that, with a Gale Thrust. That should be enough to take knockout. Actually, yes, that will take knockout onto the active. But then you risk being one shot. Okay, so he could also just elect to not attack this turn. Granted, that's risky because then if your opponent has energy acceleration with the Underworld Door, he doesn't have any energy right now, but they're in the deck. And this deck runs a decent amount of energy, so really it's just kind of a matter of time until he hits it. Saw the switch come out. The retreat into the Sobble. Interesting choice. Smack down the Professor's Research. He's got some options in his hand now. I see that Level Ball. He can grab another Drizzile. Maybe use the Drizzile to grab an Inteleon. Do some quick shooting in. Try and finish off that benched boy. With 270 damage. It'll take a couple turns, but free knockout. Granted, you could grab two quick shooting ones. Though he's electing to get the air balloon instead. Okay, so we are going to see an attempt at that Gale Thrust come out here. More likely than not, I should say. That's not guaranteed. He can still not do that, but that just seems like the
Obvious choice.
Yeah, the obvious choice.
So he played the Evolution Instance. He's searching to see what he can get. There we go.
There's quick shooting.
To get some snipe damage going on.
He has another Evolution Incense that he can play. Okay, so we can double snipe, which means that Shadow Rider is dead at the end of next turn. If my math is correct. Or is it dead right now? This is what, 310 or 320 HP? I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's 320. 320. Okay, so yes. With 270 damage on it, it'll put it at 310 this turn, off of the 2 quick shootings. And it will be pressuring knockout on the next turn with the quick shootings alone. This could be an absolutely massive 2 turns for Kens, because the Shadow Riders do damage based on the amount of energy, on the board. So in a situation like this where you're removing a Shadow Rider, you're not just getting rid of one of their Pokemon, you're getting rid of a lot of incoming damage as well. So while your Urshifu VMAX is probably going to get knocked out this next turn, you are going to be able to retaliate the turn after just with the quick shooting ability. Okay, trying to decide if he wants to put down the telescopic sight now or wait, maybe potentially in case his opponent has a tool scrapper, or on the chance that he wants to use an air balloon. That being said, he doesn't really need the telescopic sight for this other Urshifu to be able to do damage.
So we got the first knockout of the game.
First knockout of the game right there. 2 prizes taken. Pumpkaboo promoted. I see an evolution into another Shadow Rider there. Jose went ahead and drew into the Fog Crystal. So the Fog Crystal is going to be able to get him an energy, which is going to let him get Underworld Door up and running. So that's pretty big, unless he decides to just go to the next game. He is in kind of a awkward position now, but it's still very winnable, again, with that type advantage. Not to say, though, that it won't be very awkward to try and do. For those of you just now joining us, this is currently round 3 of the Pro Support TCG Weekend Pokemon Tournament.
Everything tournament.
Yeah, the Everything Tournament.
Yeah, every card game's here.
This is the Smash Ultimate of TCG tournaments. Everybody's here. But this is round 3. Currently, you are watching Jose versus Kens. Jose is up 1-0 at the moment. But Kens has taken the first prizes of this game. It's a very slow start for Jose. Even though he went first, it's just been incredibly awkward for him. So I can take another look from a different angle. Even once... so here's the thing. Once the Shadow Rider gets knocked out, or the Pumpkaboo, Jose is going to be able to use Training Court to recover some of those energies. And that's been the problem for him the last couple turns, is he's just not been hitting any energy cards. But now off that Marnie, that is a ridiculously good hand. That's something he would have liked to have seen in, like, turn 1. You got your Alcremie, you got your Crobat, you got a Quick Ball, and you got 2 Psychic Energies. So he's going to be charging up that benched Shadow Rider. Like I said, with 4 prizes left, Kens needs to come out of the gate with a G-Max Rapid Flow and just take out the Pumpkaboo. And that'll be it. Actually, a Gale Thrust might be able to do it if he has a Boss. That being said, I haven't seen his hand now that he got Marnie in it, so we will have to wait for that. time being. We see the retreat into that fresh Shadow Rider. Are we going to be attacking now? Jose has some options in hand, so he doesn't have to do that quite yet. Okay, Quick Ball coming down, getting rid of the Alcremie VMAX. He's electing not to use Alcremie in this matchup, grabbing that Galarian Articuno instead. That could be big if he's able to get that powered up. That can dish out some, well, not massive damage, but a little bit here and there. That said, it also accelerates energy for you, which is the primary reason for it being in this deck. But 3 prizes now taken by Jose, so a little bit of a split there. Now we see Ken's turn, trying to figure out who he wants to promote. Is the Urshifu the best player, or do
you have 20 minutes left to register for your event? Attention, Dragon Ball and Vanguard players, you have 20 minutes left to register for your event.
Apologies for that announcement. That was somewhat loud. All right, so Quick Ball coming down. What are we going to see Ken's get out of here? I'm a little surprised that we saw the Quick Ball come down before the Quick Shooting to take out the Shadow Rider. I would think that would be the play that you'd want to do. Yeah, Ken's options somewhat limited now. I'd have to look at what Pumpkaboo's actual HP is, but I don't believe it's very high, and that could be in knockout range this or next turn just with the quick shootings. So we'll have to see what Ken's elects to do here. Yeah, 60 HP. So one of the quick shootings will be enough to... So Ken's is threatening game this next turn. All he has to do to win here is just not evolve. Not evolve the Urshifu, I should say.
On to the last moment.
Yeah. Well, no, he doesn't need to evolve it at all. His quick shootings will be enough to win him the game here.
Oh, absolutely.
So because Pumpkaboo is 60 HP, you have one quick shooting onto the Shadow Rider VMAX that is already one quick shooting away from being knocked out. You'll be able to take 3 prizes off that, putting him down to 1 prize. And there's your Pumpkaboo. So you have your second quick shooting, knockout. You have your second quick shooting this turn, put 2 damage counters onto the Pumpkaboo.
Extreme pressure on.
And then next turn, 4 more damage counters game. You don't even need to attack. You force your opponent to knock out one of those quick shooting Inteleons this turn. At which point you're then threatening the G-Max Rapid Flow anyway. And out comes the Path to the Peak. Absolutely destructive against this deck. Ken's probably would have liked to have seen that early on in the last game. Or earlier on in this one as well. That being said, that quick shooting was massive, especially with the Path to the Peak. Now he's not going to be able to recover those energies unless he hits another training court. Ken's has quite the hand to work with. Professor's research into 3 prizes? Yeah, that'll give you some resources. It's an old school switch in hand. It looks like he's got the Cheryl. In any case, he's got game on board unless a boss's orders comes down this turn, and I don't see an out to one.
Yeah, Ken's just holding on past the turns.
Ken's has this game in the bag now. We are going to a game 3. Regardless of what happens here, we are going to game 3.
Yeah,
Though I don't know that Jose's realized that yet.
Yeah, no. And with the time limit so close to counting down here, it might look like a tie if Ken's ends up getting this win right here.
Well, they do play, you go 3 turns, and then whoever has the most prizes remaining is the victor. And we could see that go to a draw. At the same time, though, we could also see someone just squeak out the win with a cheeky knockout. So I'm not sure if Jose is trying to stall for time here, or if he genuinely just doesn't know that this is over. I know he's trying to clear out his hand for a Crobat. Oh, I'm so dumb. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Now he's still okay. He still could potentially hit the boss off the Crobat, which would let him take knockout on one of the Inteleons, which would potentially give him another turn, depending on how many of those quick shooting Inteleons are being run by Kens. And he got the boss. He got the boss off the Crobat. Absolutely huge.
Kens or Jose?
Jose. Jose ripped the boss's orders off of that Crobat. The problem is, though, okay, so he takes knockout on Inteleon. Then what? You know, you put yourself in a position where you're at risk of a G-Max Rapid Flow just ending the match for you. So Kens has put himself in a very strong position here, simply by not evolving that Urshifu and attaching an energy to it. That combined with leaving the Drizzt out in the active, very strong positioning for him. Actually, wait, did he Marty? If he Marty'd and I missed it, then yeah, it is over. Do we know how much time is left in round?
We have 6 minutes left.
6 minutes
50-minute
left.
rounds.
All right, well, that's game. Going on to game 3. With 6 minutes left. Interesting. Honestly, that is really what's going to make this a competitive game here. The fact that Kens managed to kind of sneak out that win against the deck. It took him a while, but now we're in a position where you don't need to take 6 prizes to win, and realistically, it is just not going to happen. Oh wait, so you can pack up? Did I miss something?
I don't think Jose ended up winning that one.
No, he didn't. But he won the first one, so that should be 1-1. Hold on a minute, we're just having Omar go and confirm what's going on with the match there.
Alright, so just got the juicy details. Actually, the first game, Jose ended up scooping because he forgot to put his prizes down. So when he took that first knockout to reach for his prizes, noticed that he didn't have any laid out. So that guaranteed the game 1 for Kens.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we weren't able to see it on camera because it's not zoomed in enough just to see everything.
I thought Kens had scooped because that's what I would have done in that situation, but okay. All right. So, Kens with the luckiest matchup of his life.
Alrighty, so we're going to go on break, and we'll be back for the, 4th round?
Yeah, round 4.
Round 4, alright, so stay tuned.
Welcome everybody to round 3 of the Pro Support TCG Pokemon Tournament. Now we have Christopher Pena here on the left and Miguel Rodriguez on the right. It's going to be a matchup of Shadow Rider Calyrex versus Leafeon VMAX. Now, both of these decks rely a lot on their stadium, so we're going to see quite a bit of a stadium war if I had to wager a guess. Interesting choice to play the Sobbles. I believe those are those the 70 HP ones, or are those other 6? Okay, those are the 70 HP ones. Most people are playing the Rapidstrike Sobble that is Keep Calling. It does have 10 less HP, which can matter in certain circumstances, but that Keep Calling attack has been invaluable for a lot of decks to help them set up. We'll see if that comes into play for Leafeon here, but so far having 2 of those down on the first turn is a pretty good start. Also, they have the greening ability on them, which, while it does end your turn, it lets you search a grass energy from your deck and attach it to one of your Pokemon. So both these decks have some form of energy acceleration. Leafeon VMAX just tries to hit big numbers very quickly, whereas Shadow Rider is a bit more of like a ramp-up deck. They want to try and get out a bunch of those Shadow Riders on their first turn to see if they can have, a bigger impact. So now we're going to go ahead and see some... Okay, it looks like he Great Balled did not get anything that he was looking for. Or, well, anything, period. So yeah, Christopher's looking to fill up his bench. We're once again seeing Shadow Rider on the left as well, so I think that maybe this will be a theme for the day. I remember last time we did a Pro Support event, it was just baby Blacephalons in every single match, so maybe Shadow Riders are baby Blacephalon. Okay, we're going to see the first training cord come down. Meanwhile, an attachment comes down for the Shadow Rider V. You can see that Mist Valley? I think it's Mist Slash, or Mist Valley Slash. Can't remember the exact name of the attack off the top of my head, but doesn't do a lot of energy, but what it does do is it prevents you from being able to play any stadiums or special energies from your hand, and that'll be actually massive for this deck, for this one turn at least. It prevents the Galar Mine from coming down and replacing his stadium. For those of you who haven't been playing all that long, or have mostly been playing online, you may have forgotten, but you do normally have to search your deck to figure out what's in it. It's not as easy as the online game makes it, where it just shows you how many of everything you have and sorts it all nice and neat for you. That being said, we are going to see the Fog Crystal come down there for that Galarian Articuno V, which we've seen used quite a bit in these decks. It basically just lets you put down 2 energy from your hand onto it the second it comes into play. Kind of like the Darkrai Prism of old, or like both the Galarian Zapdos and Galarian Moltres that recently came out. So now that Shadow Mist came out, there's no way for Miguel to put down the Galar Mine this turn now. He will be able to attack, and he could potentially just swing in for the 170 if he has another energy in hand that he wants to attach to the Leafeon V. But he does also need to find that VMAX as well. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows over here in the Leaf Camp, but
there's no weakness compared to the last round.
True. It is a much more fair game.
It's going to be more of a slugfest.
Oh yeah, this one is absolutely going to be a slugfest because both these decks just punch hard. Especially Leafeon V, if it can start cycling the Galar Mines, because it's not like you can Mist Slash or Shadow Mist Forever. I think it's Shadow Mist is the name of it. You can't Shadow Mist Forever. It only does 10 damage.
Your round one period will be live in 7 minutes. If you are in the building and have not checked yourself in to the Best Visitor app, please do so now. Again, if you are in the building and have not checked yourself into the app for the event, please do so now.
Okay, so electing just to attack with the V this turn. I don't think there's too much of a risk of the Leafeon V getting knocked out this turn. I mean, it is certainly possible, but it seems a bit unlikely. So that feels like, you know, if I'm Miguel in this situation, that feels like a fairly safe play.
So what's the deal with the new Leafeon that just came out?
So, just came out. I think it came out 3 months ago at this point. Now it's, God, it feels like the sets are just rapid firing at us, doesn't it? Like,
yeah, one after another. Well, I think they're trying to keep the game alive with all the COVID restrictions happening and not the actual Pokemon games going on.
Well, we are going to have events starting up in the very near future, beginning of 2022, so look forward to that. Check out the Pokemon website for more details on that if you haven't already. Now, the deal with Leafeon is that it's a gimmick that we've seen before. What it does is it hits damage based on the retreat cost of your opponent's active Pokemon. The thing that differentiates it from ones that we've seen in the past is that it hits much higher numbers than those other ones. Let me double check the exact. I want to say it's 70 or 90. Let me double check that. Now the VMAX isn't out yet, so okay, it's 60. I was incorrect. 60 for each energy in your opponent's active Pokemon's retreat cost. Now this deck evolved to be a counter to Single Strike Gershifu, because Single Strike Gershifu, which has 320 HP, has to damage itself to accelerate energy on it so it can attack. So you're already looking at something where you're going to need, where you can one-shot it with 300 damage. It already has 3 energy in its retreat cost, so you put down a Galar Mine, throw on one of the Tool Jammers, and there's nothing they can do to block the one-shots from just hailing in on them. In addition to that, Umbreon VMAX is weak to Grass Pokemon, so you can't fall back on that as an attacker either. So that's why he hasn't evolved either of those Sobbles. Those Sobbles, or rather the Inteleon line in this deck, mainly exists to just win the Stadium Wars. And the deck can afford to play a, let's say, a smaller lineup or of Pokemon. You don't have to just fill your bench up. I believe the deck also is probably going to be running a Raihan in order to help accelerate energy to it. So that is going to be an option available. We see another Great Ball come down. Options limited. He does have the Crobat. Okay, going to take the Crobat now. But you see Shadow Rider. Look at how much he's already thinned out his deck. Deck thinning, and I said this before, I'll say it again, deck thinning is deck winning, and you certainly want to be bringing your deck down to a more manageable size. What we're seeing right now is exactly that. So you kind of just get yourself down so that you just have the cards that you need in your deck, or are burning through as few of them as you have to. But, you know, Leafeon was not as safe as I thought. It did, in fact, get knocked out. So now we're in a little bit more of an awkward position. Immediate Marnie. You know,
it's hard.
Yeah, Miguel's hand wasn't great. He had a lot of good, like, tech cards in his hand. Unfortunately, they weren't particularly useful in this matchup. Echoing Horn not going to do much good for you in a matchup against Shadow Rider. Echoing Horn now is the card that forces an opponent's special energy off of their Pokemon onto the bottom of their deck. And Shadow Rider, traditionally, it might run like a capture energy or two, but primarily they're just running psychic energies. Alright, now we see the Leafeon come down. The question is, can he get a second one out, or does he want to? Really, what are the options here available? Okay, another Sobble because the Evolution Incense in hand. Going to use Train Court now to go ahead and grab a Grass Energy, attach that on to his Leafeon V. He's going to use, I believe the ability is called Greening. Let me double check that. But in any case, greening cells. Yes, greening cells. So you search your deck for a Grass Energy, attach it to one of your Pokemon, and then your turn ends. With that in mind, it is back over to Christopher's turn. Grabs a Psychic Energy with the Fog Crystal, which might as well be a draw 2. So Fog Crystal essentially becomes a free energy plus a draw 2. It's kind of crazy seeing this deck do what it does, because we didn't get to see a whole lot of it in the last game, because the first game ended so quickly, and then the second game, it was just Brick City for him. We see another Great Ball. I don't see Great Balls played all that much anymore with Shadow Rider, but it is a valid strategy, though he hasn't found much success with it this game. Played 3 of them, whiffed 2 of them. The last one he got a Crobat with a fairly large hand of mostly supporters. Apologies for that. It's just the announcements for some of the other TCG events. Again, this is the Pro Support TCG Weekend, coming at you live from, live for us. It's an in-person event, but we aren't live. We had to pre-record this due to internet issues. But, yeah, there's a whole lot of games coming on here. And another knockout onto the Leafeon V. That hurts. The boss's order, absolutely huge. Now a Leafeon V being put down, it almost feels like it would be worth it to just go straight into the next game. I don't see a world where Miguel's able to come back from this one.
Yeah, he's already done, 3 prizes?
4 prizes.
4 prizes.
Yeah, that's 2 Leafeon Vs knocked out. Yep, there it is. Okay. So we are going to be going on to Game 2. Game 1. This time, we're certain about it. Going over to Christopher. Christopher Penna takes Game 1 with Shadow Rider versus Leafeon. This is a pretty even matchup, to be honest. It's just that Chris had a very strong start with being able to use the Shadow Mist to prevent anything from happening for the Leafeon player. That and the fact that the Leafeon player wasn't able to get out the VMAX in that second turn of his really, really had to hurt him. So you lose some of that buffer of just the extra HP. So here we're going into Game 2. We'll see who decides to go first. I would still think that it would be Leafeon, even though you risk having to deal with the Shadow Mist. All right, going to not have the best opening hand. That's incredibly rough, actually. That is very brutal. That is the only card that he has to start. But he does have the Quick Ball in hand. That gives him some options. Okay, Quick Ball, but what do you discard? You have a lot of resources in hand that you probably don't want to get rid of. Okay, going to go ahead and drop one of your quick shootings. Probably, yeah, those probably aren't the most useful thing in this match. You'd almost certainly rather have the Leafeon. With 5 cards in hand, okay, not going to play the Crobat for 2. Going to elect to instead just use the greening cells to grab a Grass Energy from deck. Alright, so now we see the Air Balloon come down And another Great Ball. Are we going to see some more luck this game with the Great Ball? Because, well, he didn't need it to win the game. Christopher has not been having the best go of it with that card. And to be honest, like, Miguel has a very good hand. It's just not a very good turn one hand. You know, he had a bunch of Drizzles, bunch of Inteleons, and I think he also has a VMAX for Sylveon in there. So he has resources available to him, but it's just kind of awkward as it is. Oh, that is a big Professor's Research. There's a lot of good stuff there. Going to be able to use that Fog Crystal to grab another Shadow Rider? Maybe a Galarian Moltres? I would assume a second Shadow Rider. Hold up now. Okay, alright. I didn't see it that first time we went through, and I just noticed that he has another one on the bench. So I thought he just had the one inactive and all of his other ones were prized. That would have been actually tragic. Though that does not seem to be the case here. So tabbing through now. Not able to really find it. Did he grab anything off that Fog Crystal? Didn't look like it. Look at this man's riffle shuffling technique. It's impressive. That being said, practice with bulk if you're going to be learning how to riffle shuffle, because it can damage your cards if you're not, careful. I mean, it can damage your cards if you are careful too, but obviously you increase the risk otherwise. Alright, so the Shadow Mist came down, so we are not going to see any stadiums or special energies. So that might change what we get off of the... Okay, alright. Gonna grab the Marnie off of the Shady Dealings. Probably a good play considering everything, all the resources that Miguel has in hand. It's definitely not something you want to research away. Meanwhile, taking a look over at Christopher's hand. There's now Creamy in there. I saw another Psychic Energy. So there's options, but the Marnie's going to make those go away. And now we see a couple Boss's Orders. Another El Creamy. Saw a Quick Ball in there, so that might be an out to grab, say, a Crobat, something like that. Just to fill up that hand, because I did not see him pick up any energies. It's not something that can afford to happen to you in this deck. Attach an energy and pass. Little awkward.
Round one has been paired.
To be honest, a little bit awkward there for Miguel, but I think you'd rather sacrifice the Drizzle, or at least force your opponent to boss up the Leafeon, than take any other risks. So he has that Shadow Rider VMAX in his hand. He's got the one. The rest of his hand not looking too hot, but looks like, okay, he's going to put that down on something. Unfortunately, I can't see his full bench from our camera angle. He's going to grab the Crobat off of that Quick Ball. Okay. Does he put down the Alcremie, though, before he plays the Crobat? That's the big question. Okay, no. Going to elect to keep that Alcremie in hand. Or wait, what happened to the Alcremie? Oh, he discarded it with Quick Ball. I'm dumb. And, well, he hit the energy that he needed. That's for certain. I'm going to go ahead and use the Underworld Door. Grabs an Evolution Incense with it. Oh, hey, look, there's another Shadow. And the cycle continues. This is what makes Shadow Rider such a scary deck. If it can get set up quickly, you are burning through tons and tons of cards. Now, the question remains, now that Fusion Strike is coming out, will it remain the best deck, the best Psychic deck in format? And actually, arguably, Dragapult is right now anyway, but will either of them remain that? Because we're getting new VMAX. And new VMAX has Genesect as a draw engine, which can theoretically let you draw 20 cards in one turn. Actually, 24 if my math is correct. It's a deck that's not going to be playing a ton of supporters, which is kind of bizarre to think about. It'll be the first time in a long time that we've seen a deck that doesn't play any Professor's Research. That being said, that set, or at least the pre-release, was delayed until today due to some supply chain issues. But we will see what happens with that set once it comes out. Because again, the Japanese meta is slightly different from the English meta. Alright, Underworld Door, it looks like it got him a Professor's Research and the Great Ball. So I'm going to go ahead and Great Ball. Does he hit anything in the Okay, got the Galarian Articuno. That's going to be really his only option. Going to elect to take it. Okay. That's a good card that can put down 2 more energy straight from your hand onto the bench, or at least onto the Galarian Articuno, but still powering up the Underworld Door nonetheless. But do you wait do you do that now, or do you wait till you have another Psychic Energy in hand? And it looks like we're going to elect to wait and just attach that one to our Shadow Rider. Retreat. There's the boss. Is there enough energy on board for a knockout? I don't believe so, but
it's not a knockout if he's getting dice, so.
Yeah, very true.
Very close though.
180. Okay, so we're in 2-shot territory here. Or 190. Yes, I can do math. There's the Galar Mine. Okay, so that's going to make the Shadow Rider a 4 retreat cost Pokemon, which means that you're going to be hitting 240 damage. Not ideal. You're not one-shotting. But, again, you're in 2-shot territory. So now the question becomes, can Miguel get out another Leafeon? And okay, you got the Shady Dealings Inteleon coming out. Lets you search your deck for 2 trainer cards, put them in your hand. So what are we going to see? I imagine probably outs to Leafeons. Yep, there's a Quick Ball. Second Quick Ball, perhaps? Maybe a Professor's Research? Okay, skipping past the Professor's Research. Phoebe. What does the Phoebe do for you here?
Looked like he just tossed it out.
Oh, okay, well.
Just out the deck.
Deck thinning is deck winning. Let's just say I was a little confused by that choice. Okay, Capture Energy. Probably for a Sobble, I would imagine? Yes. Okay. So he's got that second Leafeon V set up to attack next turn. He's going to be able to swing in here, do 240 damage. Won't quite take knockout, but he will be able to retaliate the next turn. And again, as you start to take knockouts on these Shadow Rider decks, they start to get weaker and weaker. Because they lose a lot. They obviously, they do damage based on the amount of energy on them. On all of them. So, you lose one, you start to lose damage. But right now, he's going to swing in for 240 damage, I believe that is. Yes.
It's a very hard-hitting Leafeon right there.
That it is. And there's a lot of hard-hitting things in format, or there's a lot of heavy boys in format right now. Obviously, Single Strike Gershifu, the first one that comes to mind, but also, Shadow Rider, you're hitting 240. You can heal yourself even with Leafeon's second attack, which I'm forgetting the name of because I'm a professional. Max Leaf heals 30 damage. Okay, so not much healing there, but solid 170 damage for your opponent. Doesn't have very much in terms of retreat cost. Things like Dragapult's an awkward matchup for this deck, certainly, as well as Jolteon, because Jolteon just flat out does not have a retreat cost. So this is still anyone's game, but first knockout is certainly going to be going the way of Christopher. That'll be 3 prizes off the bat. We'll see where things go from there. All right, Marnie. Gosh, you know, I've been casting for a while now, but I'm so used to turns being so much quicker because of the shuffling and all the little time-consuming elements happening in an instant.
Yeah, and this game seems a little sluggish too compared to the first game we were actually recording.
Well, this one, oh, yeah, the other one, the Dex, because it hits for weakness, it's a much quicker paced game, but also because the players were bricking at times, their turns were a little less eventful. Here, there's just a lot to think about, a lot going on for both players. They have to decide what their best option is going to be. And now we start to run into some issues with Leafeon where it's not one-shotting the Shadow Riders, but the Shadow Riders can just tag themselves out for another fresh one. So there is a Shadow Rider on the bench that is very damaged. Oh wait, I got Echoing Horn's ability wrong. I'm an idiot. I got that confused with the Fan Awaits. Echoing Horn forces a Pokemon onto your opponent's bench, which is certainly a choice, given the situation. Energy comes down onto the Leafeon VMAX. Honestly, it's just not looking good for our boy Leafeon here. Miguel struggle busting a wee bit. Does manage to grab the Drizzile. Is he going to go for a Boss's Orders outfit? Okay, no, Tool Jammer. All right, we were talking about using the air balloons to tag in and out so that you could always have a fresh Shadow Rider without sacrificing, any damage that you're outputting. No longer an option with that Tool Scrapper in play. Sorry, Tool Jammer. Tool Jammer just turns off air balloon, just straight up. And then the big swing in will be for 240 damage once again. So now you have 2 Shadow Rider VMAXs that each have 240 damage on them. But presumably, we're going to try and see an out to a Training Court here. Or a Tool Jammer or something that can, or not Tool Jammer, Tool Scrapper, something that can be used to get the Leafeon out of the way.
Looks like they called the game.
Called the game, scooped. I'm not really sure what happened there.
Who won game 1?
Game 1 went to Christopher. So we'll see if they start to pack up. I would assume that was Miguel scooping.
So at least a 1-1.
Nope. Okay, yeah, Christopher wins 2-0. Shadow Rider redemption arc from the last round. Welcome back, everybody. This is round 4 of the Pro Support TCG Weekend Pokemon 5K tournament. We have Michael Campbell's on the left and Nick Flores on the right. It's the battle of Suicune versus Rapidstrike Gershifu. And I'm going to be honest, this isn't a matchup I've seen a whole lot of, simply just because Rapidstrike Gershifu hasn't been the most popular card as a result of all the counters that people have built for it in this format. But now we're going to go ahead and see what this deck has to offer. It is going first. Suicune is a very strong deck, dealing damage based on the amount of Pokemon on the bench. Generally, the deck will also play like a backup attacker. I'm not sure if this is playing the Ice Rider or if it's going to be playing the Ludicolo. Those are usually the two most popular variants we see of this deck, so we'll have to see which one ends up getting used. If any. It could just be a straight build, which would be a little something different. All right, Melanie comes down. Wait, are they going second? Was it a draw pass from Nick?
Did I see? It hasn't looked like Nick has played his turn.
Maybe it was just that rough of a opening. I think we were still getting set up, so I didn't notice it. Yeah, that's going to be that. That being said, with one Pokemon on the bench, with only two Pokemon in play, 80 damage from Suicune V's attack. So not the most threatening thing in the current situation. Yep. All right, so now Nick is in an interesting position, but he does have cards to work with. Evolution Incense. Will he go for the Drizzle, or is he going to go for the Urshifu VMAX? I didn't get to see everything that's in his hand, so I suppose we'll see what he elects to go for. Alright, Evolution Incense coming out. Sorry, Drizzle coming out. My bad, I can't English. For that lovely full art Professor's Research from Celebrations. Very affordable full art if you're looking to bling out your deck, by the way. Alright. Energy going on to the Rapidstrike Gershifu, which admittedly I don't know what the V's attack does. I'm gonna have to look that up. Doesn't get a ton of use. Is that a Suicune in his hand? Is he also playing Suicunes? That is an interesting build. Alright, so it's like you have water mixed in with the fighting. I mean, it synergizes, but it's interesting to see the Suicune.
Is Suicune a Rapidstrike Pokemon?
It is not, no. That was the thing that was surprising to me. Ooh, the Fana Waves. Back to the bottom of the deck with the Capture Energy.
Yeah, he's trying to slow him down as much as he can to get something going on his side of the bench for Nick over here.
Well, the good news for Nick is that without having a full bench, Suicune is not realizing its full potential, as it were, in terms of damage output. So we're just going to go ahead and see the Strafe coming out from Urshifu. Have it retreat to the bench for that other Suicune. Again, not really in danger of getting KO'd this turn. The thing with Suicunes is that they have a few turns of just hitting okay numbers, but eventually your opponent kind of has to fill their bench in order to really make anything happen unless they get incredibly lucky with their draws. So eventually you just force your opponent into a situation where they have to make a move that you can punish them for. There's also another school of thought that basically just goes, just fill your board up and try to kill those Suicunes as quick as possible. Granted, that's coming from me as a Urshifu, or a single strike Urshifu player. So. Alright, there's the rare candy that he's grabbing. Yeah, now we're seeing that Ludicolo that I was talking about. It makes your basic Pokemon, the turn that it evolves, they do 100 more damage. So you can use that to take big knockouts, and if you have 2 of them down, you could chain them. They do in fact stack. So we're going to have to see what they elect to do here. Grabbing the Sobble down. Okay, using his ability. I like the little marker to notate that you've used your ability. It reminds me of the GX markers, which are probably going to be coming back with the new V-Star Pokemon that are coming out in the next set. Now I see the boss into the Urshifu. That might be enough for knockout? Yes, it is in fact going to be. So 2 prizes taken now. By Michael and his Suicune deck. This is a very strange list that I'm looking at here with the Rapidstrike Suicune. I haven't seen anything like this before, so I'm not really sure what to expect from this deck now. That being said, a couple of cards in hand there. I saw the Octillery, I saw the Drizzile, I saw some Inteleons as well, so now we're just gonna flip through the deck. But honestly, at the speed of which Nick is flipping through the deck, you can tell that he's been playing for a while, so it's not like this is just some random thrown together deck. There's thought put into this. There's a reason that Suicune is in this deck. And, I mean, I guess we'll have to see. It looks like an Ice Rider as well. So you got Ice Rider mashed up with Rapidstrike Gershifu. Interesting combination. So it looks like I think you'd probably use the Melanie then as a form of energy acceleration onto the Urshifu as an option. I don't really see the point of the Suicune in this particular list, maybe for the Eternatus matchup, but in that case you already have the Urshifu VMAX. In any case, the heck is the Vaporeon doing in there? Okay, alright, this is a list. This is a list that I'm looking at. I don't know what to make of it, to be totally honest. Nick trying to figure out what his best play is, as am I. Alright, going to grab that Quick Ball. Ditch the lovely pre-release Art Octillery. Looks like he's going for the Urshifu. At least he's put it on top, so that's going to be his main consideration. I'll see him grabbing a Sobble for the search, but I think you probably want to get that second Urshifu built up so you can do your G-Max Rapid Flows, deal with the Lotads, deal with the Inteleons.
Well, obviously the deck's working out for him because he's in Seed 4 right now.
I suppose so.
I mean, it is the 4th round only.
Alright, Level Ball to grab a Sobble. So he's going to have another search option this next turn. I genuinely have not seen the Vaporeon V before, so I'm curious for what's going to happen with that.
Bucket and grab those 2 walkers. Such a great card, too.
It really is. It's just a free 2 energy from your deck. And it looks like he's going to discard a second one with the Quick Ball to grab another Suicune and have that on his bench and ready up. It attacks for fairly cheap. 1 water, 1 colorless energy, usually fulfilled by a capture energy. And then you can just Melanie right onto it. It's a deck that can abuse a lot of very good supporters between Melanie and Raihan. It just gives you options. So we're going to have to see how this plays out. I don't think he wants to burn the Lotad quite yet. Okay, going for the scoop-up net onto one of his Shady Dealing Intellions. So we're going to see, okay, he's just playing that down onto a different one. Not playing the Sobble right away. Looks like he might have something else in mind for that last spot on the bench. Grabbing a rare candy now. And an Evolution Incense, perhaps? Are we going to see the knockout on Suicune with the assist from Ludicolo? No. Okay. Knockout onto probably the Vaporeon now. And that's the thing with Suicune. It's just a very good, very consistent deck. It doesn't hit insane numbers very often, but it doesn't need to. Especially with the Cape of Toughness on, it's got 260 HP. It takes a decent amount of effort to like brute force your way through that in terms of hitting one-shots. So really, unless it goes up against something like a Dragapult or Jolteon, it has a lot of good matchups. Now we're seeing the rare candy come down. Ludicolo is out 100 extra damage for an attack from a basic Pokemon this turn. And again, that does stack. Though it doesn't look like he has a second one on the bench. It's a little hard to see that obstructed card, but I'm fairly certain it's just another Inteleon, if my goldfish brain memory is serving me correctly. Alright, grabbing the Drizzile. Bring that down. This is, like, his turn is taking a long time, but it's not because he's, like, stopping and thinking about each play. He's just getting that much work done. That with Fleet-Footed, you just get a free card every turn.
Looks like his turn's never going to end. He's getting all the cards he needs at the moment.
Yeah, his turn's never going to end, but he's going to end it with, like, a 20-card hand.
Both players are set up really good, actually. It's just taking those knockouts and see what they draw at this moment.
Well, the biggest issue right now is that there's 3 prizes that have been taken by Michael, and Nick has not so much as touched his prize cards.
No.
He's been trying to get set up, but Suicune is just outpacing him. Actually, it looks like he's going to scoop it up. Okay, we're going to the next game. He had he had a couple buckets prized. That's pretty rough.
I think he realized when he went into the deck to see if he had anything that he was looking for.
No, he did not.
Yeah. It's game 2. Game 1 goes to Michael.
Not me, Michael. The player, Michael. I mean, I'll take the dub if he doesn't want it, but I think he does. It is interesting, or at least it's nice to see a deck that isn't Shadow Rider. We saw it very prominently featured in our first 2 games.
I'm kind of excited to see what the top 8 are going to be.
I am as well, just because, again, the meta has been so diverse lately. Single Strike Gershifu, Rapidstrike Gershifu, primarily with Galarian, Moltres, Suicune, Leafeon, Jolteon, Galarian, Weezing, and Sableye. I've seen Togekiss make top cut a couple times. Still haven't seen a Rayquaza, but that's another conversation.
I'm surprised to see so many of the EV evolutions being used. Usually when they come out, it's only 1 or 2 that are decent, but it seems this set dropped quite a bit of it.
Yeah, I think people were sleeping on a lot of them. I certainly was at the beginning. I think we all knew that Umbreon was going to be a fantastic card because its boss's orders on an effect on evolution, and there were just so many so many psychic Pokemon in play or in the meta at the time that it seemed like a no-brainer, and it really is what pushed Single Strike Gershifu into being a Tier 1 deck.
Yeah, it helps tremendously.
Yeah, and I think the other ones that we see getting play, your Leafeons, your Jolteons, are primarily born out of necessity of trying to counter some of these decks. Like I said, Leafeon counters Single Strike Gershifu. I think it's like an 85-15 matchup, if my memory serves me correctly, in favor of Leafeon. Jolteon is there for Suicune. Hits 100 to the active, 100 to the bench.
A lot of love with these new Pokemon that came out.
Oh yeah. I think this year, honestly, overall has been one of the best years in terms of set releases and like diversification of the meta. Because the first set that came out this year was Battle Styles, and all the archetypes from that set are still used. And they're all still, and like, if anything, they're more viable now than ever. Both Single Strike and Rapid Strike. I mean, really the only deck that has just died a death, it was the Malamar, the Rapid Strike Malamar, simply just because we got the quick shooting Inteleon. That just dealt with it too easily. But again, we got quick shooting Inteleon, suddenly Inteleon becomes the preferred engine in most decks.
Right.
Replaced Jirachi Scoop-Up Nets, replaced everything else that we had. Because it's just such good search. And it's weird, it felt like we had a healthy meta pre-rotation, but the second that rotation hit and ADP was gone, it's just the door is busted open with all of these Inteleon decks, with Suicunes that would normally be 3 prizers up against your ADPs. And then this next set with Fusion style, we're getting at least one new top tier deck in Genesect and Mew VMAX, and potentially a couple variations of that one deck. In addition to Inteleon VMAX coming back into the format as a very strong attacking option. Plus, there's new techs for existing decks. You have Gengar VMAX for Single Strike, along with, I believe, Chandelure VMAX is a Single Strike as well. So there's really a lot of options coming out now. Yeah, Suicune's ability, Fleet-Footed, lets you draw 1 card if it's in the active spot. So a lot of people were like, it's kind of a meh, but Suicune was another one of those cards that everybody was sleeping on at the time that it came out. But it's proved to be a very strong deck and a card that you have to respect. I primarily play Single Strike myself, and this deck is the primary reason that I run Tool Jammers and Tool Scrappers. Because otherwise it'll just outpace you. Back at the start it was run with things like Ice Rider or there was another V that I saw it run with fairly frequently, but it ended up being that just pure Suicune was, with like a Ludicolo, small Ludicolo package, was really just the best way to do things. Drizzile is going digging. I imagine we'll probably see something like an Evo Incense here. Okay, so he put the Professor's Research, that oak, up on the top there. So that might be what we're seeing. Okay, yeah, that is what he's going to grab. Just bin what he's got in his hand. Looks like he's going to do another search before he does that because he did not shuffle his deck there. Yep, there's a level ball. Level ball for another Drizzle. Maybe another Sobble. Okay, going for that other Drizzle. And the escape rope. Ooh, that's big. And the escape rope lets that Urshifu get into the active spot after he evolves it. If he did it before he evolved, Gale Thrust would not get its bonus 120 damage. So it's big that he did that. That being said, he could also just G-Max Rapid Flow. That option is going to be available to him off the Professor's research. And he hits! He hits the energy. He got the Rapid Strike energy. He can do it. And the Tower of Waters.
This is definitely going to put a dent into Michael's setup here.
Yeah, this is what you got to imagine Nick was trying to do last game. It just didn't work out for him. He could not set up. Suicune just outpaced him, but now that the turns have tabled, as it were. There it is, G-Max Rapid Flow to take out both of the Sobbles. That's big. I think I might have gone for the Lotad personally, just because that extra 100 damage can be devastating. It can let you take massive knockouts. That being said, I don't think currently that Michael has an answer to it. No, he doesn't, so he's just going to have to go ahead and Marnie. With no Sobbles in play, you're kind of limited to what you have in your hand. You can't just get the Drizziles. Capture energy, water energy, level ball, quick ball, and a quick shooting intel. And the quick shooting is not going to do you much good. The level ball and the quick ball and the capture energy, yeah, those might be helpful. But actually, if Nick is able to get out an Octillery in this next turn, he's going to be in a pretty good position here to just run away with this, with game 2. Simply because, you know, he's playing Melanie's in there, so he can Melanie, attach the Rapid Strike energy, and swing in again with another G-Max Rapid Flow to take out the Sobble and the Lotad, or 2 more Sobbles if another one goes down, and then you're really in an awkward spot if you're Suicune, because, well, what do you do at that point? There's the Evo Incense. What is he going to go for, though? Okay, Shady Dealings and Teleon. Looks to be the play. He's trying to figure out what he's going to grab with that. The Melanie and the Evo Incense. Yup. That's devastating.
That's a huge play right there.
That is an absolutely massive play. Melanie attaches the water energy and you draw 3. Little baby welder. And then you can just G-Max Rapid Flow again. Stop your opponent from doing anything resembling setup. And then all you have to do is knock out a single Suicune for game. That'll take us to a game 3.
Well, with that said, I think that at this point, where if that is done, Michael's probably going to end up scooping.
Certainly feels like what might happen.
Because after that, it's going to be hard to come back.
Yeah.
With Nick having such a huge lead, you know, after this attack, it looks like he's eyeballing.
Yeah, I think at that point you're also 3-shotting. You're 3-shotting the Urshifu VMAX. It might be 2-shotting, but in any case, there's going to be a chance to retaliate. And all you have to do is take out one Suicune V. And it's not like you won't be able to get out another Urshifu V with the Octillery in play. I'm still struggling to understand the Vaporeon. It is a Rapid Strike, so it makes a little more sense to me than the Suicune, but still, it seems odd.
Goes the energy attachment. There we go.
Yep. Rest in peace. 4 prizes taken now in fairly quick succession by Nick. A crazy strong board state to go with it.
So we're going to see if Michael stays in it or decides to go on to the next game.
The play feels like to go on to the next game, personally, but...
And is there a way he can get enough energy on that Suicune to start attacking? Or?
Yeah, he can attack this turn. But without access to the Ludicolo this turn, he's not evolving. You know, he's not gonna take knockout on that and then be able to start to catch up. But he's also forced to put down more easily one-shottable Pokemon on his bench, simply just to try and stay in it. So another Rapid Flow is going to kind of spell the end here. Potentially. Not sure what his play is at the moment. Okay, discarding the Water Energy for a Quick Ball. Maybe going for a Crobat? No, another Suicune. Okay. So it looks like his plan might be to try and cycle the Suicunes out, because again, they don't need a lot to attack with, but and when you have something that can hit the bench as hard as Rapidstrike Gershifu can, you start to encounter some problems. So what's the play here? Okay, attach return onto the bench Suicune, so you'll have a second one set up for next turn. Throw down the Sobble. Do we go for maybe another G-Max Rapid Flow? 180. So yeah, 2-shot territory, but you're in such a good spot right now. If you're Nick, you could care less about that.
Now, can Nick get a knockout this turn? Besides the swallow?
No. No, he could not.
So regardless, it's a 2-shot anywhere else.
Yes. Actually, let me double check Vaporeon VMAX, because I don't off the top of my head know what that does.
Yeah, it looks like he's loading it up. Now he's got a retreat option with Water on Towers over here.
Yeah. Alright, so I think his strat then becomes use Max Torrent. Because Max Torrent, if your opponent's active Pokemon has any damage counters on it, it does 100 more damage. Vaporeon VMAX also has, for a single energy, the Attack Bubble Pod, which lets you put a water Pokemon from your discard pile onto your bench and attach 3 energies from your discard pile to that Pokemon. Now, worth pointing out, that does not say basic, so it could be any water Pokemon. Pretty safe play there. Using Escape Rope to force Sobble into the active position. Or, well, using Escape Rope and Michael choosing to put Sobble in the active position. Because there's still 2 prizes that need to be taken by Nick. Which means that even if he knocks out this Sobble, that he's still going to need to take out a Suicune.
You know, and we get to see how important swabbles are for each deck. You know, you take them out, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
You got to hard draw into it or get lucky. And,
well, that's the issue is when your draw engine, when you can target your opponent's draw engine so effectively, it makes life just an absolute nightmare for anybody playing that line. And for the longest time, that's what kept Single Strike safe
is because the G-Max Rapid Flow hits for 120 and the Houndooms have 130, so their engine is a little bit safer. But when you're looking at, a stage 1 that has 90 HP, not so much. And a basic that is 60. Just doing some deck thinning here. Quick Ball discarding a Rapidstrike Gershifu for a Rapidstrike Gershifu. Using a level ball for the Remoraid. Looks like he's trying to set himself up in a position where he can draw into boss's orders a bit easier if I had to wager, I guess.
I believe, just for a backup consistency.
Yeah. Well, and with the 2 damage counters on that bench Suicune, the 200 damage coming out from Vaporeon will really put a dent in that. It would knock it out, actually, if it weren't for the Cave of Toughness, but a couple quick shootings can deal with that. And actually, you see the Tower of Water used to retreat the Sobble. Suicune now going to use his fleet-footed ability. It can attack this turn, but it won't be taking knockout. That being said, it's in kind of a scary spot in terms of the amount of damage that it's hitting. And to my knowledge, Suicunes don't usually have any method of healing. So, even if he allows Vaporeon to be 2-shot, he sets himself up for victory simply by being able to, assuming he has Melanie, or outs to get a Melanie. Assuming that he can, Melanie, attach energy, swing in for the 200 damage, and then just poke with quick shooting. So really it's going to kind of come down to this next turn. The match at this point is out of Michael's control completely. Boss's orders, knockout, take 3 prizes. So finally on the board here. And that's the other thing. Suicune V's attack does damage based on all bench Pokemon, not just your opponents. So by taking out, the little guys on the bench, you're losing bench space. Boss's orders. Oh, that's big. Okay, and there's the scoop. So that's going to be a 2-1 reverse sweep, I guess you could call it, for Nick. Able to come back and win that.
Alright, so game 3 now. We're going to see.
Was that not game 3?
No.
Wait. Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. I had a stroke. That's my bad.
Well, with the confusion from the other rounds.
Also, it's been a long day. So yeah, on to game 3. I would assume Suicune would elect to go second because it can attack on turn 1. Well, not turn 1, on its first turn. I should clarify that.
Like we mentioned earlier, we are recording this live, but it's actually not live at the moment. We're post it up later.
Yeah, this is going to be going up on, well, I guess there's no point in telling them where the video is going up because they're going to be watching it. You'll see it if you're watching it. Big brain. Interesting. Okay, so Suicune electing to go first here.
I think he prefers to sit up more.
Yeah.
You know, with the swamp, but he didn't find any. Or still his turn, right?
Yeah. Okay, he used the capture energy to grab a Suicune. He does have a Sobble and a Lotad at the very least in hand. I'm assuming those are both coming down. I hear evil laughter across the building. I'm not sure what that's about. Electing to hang on to the Lotad maybe, but he does also have that level ball. I think we might see Michael playing this one a bit safer in terms of the amount of Sobbles that he's putting down.
What's going on, everybody? At 3 o'clock, Jason Page is going to do some singing for you guys. So at 3 o'clock, go to the stage. We got nothing to do. Go to the stage at 3 o'clock. It's going to jam out.
So yeah, now we're seeing level ball come out for Nick. Gonna go ahead and grab the Remoraid. Did he have a second level ball there as well? Or is he just flipping through his deck? Okay, he's just flipping. Okay, alright. But he does have other search options, I believe, since he hasn't... Yes, he does have an Evolution Incense in hand. I think he's debating whether or not to play it. Did he just keep... Okay. Rapidstrike Energy onto the Sobble to keep calling. I haven't seen his entire hand, but I'm assuming that he has resources in there that he does not want to get rid of if he's hanging on to it in that way. Yeah, okay, he had Raihan in there. He had Drizzile, he had an Evolution Incense. So yeah, this was probably the best play. Though you do hate to burn a Rapidstrike Energy like that.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to see the 2 Rapidstrike Gershifus come down. And the Sobble. Alright. Respectable setup there. You're giving your opponent's Suicune some ammunition, but so long as they don't Marnie you, you're happy about getting knocked out. Some level ball for a Drizzile. Is that for boss's orders, perhaps? I see him checking his hand, being a sneaky boy. But he has at least temporarily put the boss on the top of his deck. Alright, he is going to opt for the boss's orders. Swing into one of the Urshifus, presumably here. I don't believe he'll be able to take knockout unless he Lotans, which would be actually kind of insane. Oh, he also has the full Raihan in his hand now. Lovely. But I think he's trying to get a read on his opponent potentially having that Raihan, which is why he's trying to hit around the Sobble if he can. Again, electing to grab the boss's orders off the Drizzile. Another level ball coming into play. I think we'll see just another Sobble come out. Now that he feels that he's got to feel a little bit safer now. No water energy in the discard to use with Melanie. So, and the fact that he had to attach a Rapidstrike Energy to his Sobble means that he likely just doesn't have it, which he would be correct about. Oh no, boss's energy onto the Remoraid. Interesting choice. Okay, taking out the Remoraid. That will trigger Raihan, assuming he can get a water energy in the discard in some way. Though I don't think that is going to be the case. It'll be interesting to see what he elects to play this turn. Because he has a good amount of options for cards to play in his hand, but okay. We're seeing the alright. Solid choice. Putting down the Tower of Waters, evolving the bench Gershifu. You can get a Gale Thrust in that way.
Is it Nick's turn?
Yes, it is Nick's turn. And there was a knockout taken on the Remoraid, so losing access to that search
at least early on, losing access to it. I imagine there's probably more than one Remoraid in that deck that Nick can go into if he really wants to. But for now, he's using the Evolution Incense, grabbing the Drizzile, using the Shady Dealings ability for Professor's Research. Okay, so no Rhyhons. Second Drizzile. Oh yes, and he just had to discard the Rapid Strike Energy because Rapid Strike Energy can only be attached to a Rapid Strike Pokemon, and the Shady Dealings Drizzile is not Rapid Strike. It is in fact from the base set of Sword and Shield, meaning that, yeah, battle styles did not exist back then.
So we're trying to see what play Nick can pull out here that can help him. Kind of hard right now, no energies on his main attackers. You know, with that energy attachment from last turn on that Swabble, kind of hurts.
Yeah, having to attach to a Sobble is a little rough, but I think he's thinking a bit more long term. He only needs a fighting energy to be able to swing in with a Gale Thrust from his benched Urshifu VMAX, since he has that Tower of Waters that gives him the free retreat in play.
Absolutely.
So, if he elects to go that route, then he'll put himself in a good position. You know, you're going to be two-shotting the Suicunes no matter what, so getting that 150 in onto them is pretty big. A lot of it's going to come down to what he's able to draw off of this Professor's Research, and there is a Rapid Strike Energy. If nothing else, he has that. The Fan of Waves could be pretty big here, though, as well. Sending that Capture Energy back to the bottom of the deck. It's rough because you don't want to give your opponent back a Capture Energy. That lets them, fill up their bench more. But at the same time, just having to attach for turn again to the same Pokemon, not be able to set up a secondary attacker, can be absolutely massive. Telescopic Sight, not the most useful card in this matchup, simply just because you're going to be targeting down their non-V Pokemon with your Rapid Flows. Because that hurts them more in the long run than just going after the Suicunes right off the bat. Alright, so we see a retreat. Any more cards going to be played from hand, or are we just going for the Gale Thrust? Alright, just looks like the Gale Thrust for 150. So Michael's going to be looking to retaliate. He's not... I don't think he can... Actually, no, he might be able to take Knockout here if he has Rare Candy in hand, which would put him just crazy far ahead. Evolution Incense. I think we might see it. I need to do some quick math. The Blizzard Rondo attack, 20 damage for each bench Pokemon, both yours and your opponent's. It's 20 plus, I should mention. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's going to be hitting 200 damage. That will actually just be not enough. That's unfortunate. That is assuming he decides to go the Ludicolo route with the big boy Shady Dealings. Unless he has some way of getting a second one down. I can't really tell with that very, very shiny card on his benches. Ah, it's another Sobble. Okay. So yeah, he's not going to be able to get the quick shooting and evolve unless he has a bunch of cards in his hand already. No, okay, yeah, going for the Shady Dealings. Alright, Level Ball for Drizzile. For... what else?
He even grabbed Bucket, didn't he?
He also did, yeah, he did also grab Bucket. Shady Dealings with Inteleon lets you search for 2 trainers instead of the one that Drizzile does.
through that deck trying to figure out what he's got left and what he can use this turn.
Well, still so early in the game, he has a lot of options. And okay, going for the rare candy and the double bucket, no, it's just a single bucket, but it pulls 2 energies.
Alright, so it looks like we're going to have an extra 100 damage this turn.
Extra 100 damage, do 300 into the opposing Pokemon, unless he has like an echoing horn or something, but I don't think I've seen this.
And the snipe damage thing?
No, because
No,
that's the Shady Dealings one.
Shady Dealings.
Yeah. Shady Dealings lets you search for 2 cards. A quick shooting lets you place 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. It'll be interesting to see how much play that card gets when Fusion Styles releases. Simply because, well, the Fusion Energy prevents effects of abilities.
Wow. So it looks like a swing into the Gershifu and on to Nick's turn.
Yeah, that's pretty big too. The 300 damage is 20 HP left. With a Drizzle on the bench, you're threatening knockout with a quick shooting on this following turn. And there needs to be a big play that comes down right here. And to be honest, he can make that happen. He can Rapid Flow, take out the Drizzle and the Suicune.
Well, see, the thing that was still leaving for Suicune. Oh no, you're right.
Suicune would still be able to knock him out the next turn, but Suicune would have to knock him out. He wouldn't be able to get out a quick shooting. See, quick shooting onto the Ludicolo, which I believe has 140 HP? Yes, it does. Okay, so 140 HP on that Ludicolo now puts it in range of the G-Max Rapid Flow, which we're seeing come out. Suicune and okay, yep, there it is. Suicune Drizzle, easily the best choice in play there. Because again, that forces your opponent to have to take a few more risks. Not to mention with the Inteleon and the Ludicolo, he's not going to have any search or any way of boosting damage on this next turn. So he's going to have to scoop up net those to make them useful to him again. Otherwise, they're just bench warmers. And a little scarier than that for him, they're also very G-Max Rapid Flowable.
Yes.
It's like new verb, new adjective. What is English?
Just 20 damage left on that Urshifu.
Yeah, that 20 damage might as well be, 200. Simply because it is going to take, your attack for the turn to deal with it, rather than quick shoot, knock it out, and swing into something else. It's a fantastic play there by Nick to stay in this match.
This last game is definitely interesting and really worth watching.
Yeah, no, it's been very back and forth, I will say, and right now Nick is up in the prize trades, but that could change in a heartbeat. It's hard to say kind of how things are going. And yeah, while the round is getting pretty close to being over, they will still have 3 turns, and I can't see this match going any longer than that anyway. So let's say, yep, there it is. So the Gershifu is going to fall. But there's another one on the bench that can evolve, worth pointing out. Although I imagine he'll probably just promote one of his other Pokemon since he has the Tower of Waters out. No reason not to. That way you can still Gale Thrust if, you absolutely have to. he does still have 3 prizes to take, which is a little bit more awkward than Suicune having to take 2 prizes. But, you know, you go into the Ludicolo, swing into the Suicune, assuming you can get a Gale Thrust, or not a Gale Thrust, a Rapid Flow off this next turn. And that puts you in a good position for either a quick shooting to finish it off, or potentially just attack on the next turn with a Gale Thrust. Alright, well, since we just hit time in the round, we're now in turns, which means currently Michael's Suicune deck is turn 0. So it goes 0, 1, turn 0, turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. And at the end of those, whoever has the most prizes is the winner. This match could still very easily be a draw, though. If I had to put my money on anyone, it would be on Nick, I think. All right, onto that Inteleon there. I believe that's 160 or 140 HP. I think it's 140. So that should put it in range of a Rapid Flow, assuming he can get that off. The Evolution Incense will be able to grab an Artillery. Yep. Artillery, Rapid Strike Search, pull 1 Rapid Strike card from your deck to your hand. There it is. Does he have the Melanie, though, is the question. The Melanie seals this for him.
Is he going to be able to get the 3 knockouts?
He doesn't need to win. He just needs to be up in terms of prizes.
Oh, okay.
He has 2 knockouts currently, so he's only down... Actually, there was a knockout at the very beginning. Okay, so his opponent has taken 4 prizes. Oh, no, he took 3. Okay, so he's taken 3 prizes. He needs 3 more. Michael needs 2 more. So Michael's essentially forcing him to take knockout here. Okay, going to go in with the Gale Thrust. That'll set him up for the win on the final turn of the game. Now, this really is kind of an awkward position to be in. I don't know if Michael can win this now. I'll be honest. The problem is that he needs to knock out something. Oh, he needs to knock out Artillery, very specifically. Then he needs to Marnie and hope that Nick does not hit an energy. That's, I believe, his only win condition, and even that might make this end in a draw.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough predicament here. Mm-hmm. Them trying to figure out how they're going to get their last knockouts and close this game off before the turns runs out.
Well, and this is going to be Michael's final turn. After this, Nick still gets to go once more. And he probably has it wrapped up if there's nothing that Michael can do. Grabbing the Ludicolo with the Evolution Incense. Another Evolution. Okay, looks like we're doing some deck thinning here. He could grab the... I don't know, Cape of Toughness wouldn't even do it. Yeah, if Rapid Flow hits him, he's done. He does have the Marnie in hand, so that option is available to him. Alright, grabbing the Sobble. Not that that matters all that much. So I think he's just trying to deck thin for a Marnie play, would be my guess. Tough choices to make, though. Certainly. There's the Marnie. Okay. All right. These 5 cards could determine the fate of this match. Scoop up net. That's big. Fleet-footed to draw the extra card. Yeah, that scoop up net's absolutely massive. Did he just pass?
Yeah, he just passed. He scooped up net and just passed.
Why didn't I don't know why he didn't attack. Well, I guess he couldn't take knockout and it was his last turn, so why bother? There's the melon. There's game. That'll be it. Not able to take all of his prizes, but able to get down to 1 prize, which puts him ahead, and in the end, puts him over the top.